What is up, guys? I got the winner of the chain guide. That is going to be going to B Mountain Bike, that subscriber. So hit me up. You got a awesome brand new one-up chain guide coming your way free of charge. The two helmets are going to be picked in about a week and a half. So once again, if you're not already subscribed, make sure to do that and you will be entered to win the raffle for the helmet. Once again, B Mountain Bike, you are the winner for the chain guide. Anyways, thanks for your patience. On to the video. What is the biggest technological change coming for the sport of downhill in World Cup racing, and specifically the bikes they're on? That is the easiest question to answer. One word: aerodynamics. The untapped potential that exists not only in terms of the bike and the setup, the equipment, all of that, but also what the riders are wearing, the helmets, the apparel. There is no doubt about it that, in my opinion, aerodynamics over the next 5 years is going to be probably the biggest focus in the world of downhill racing, especially at the highest level. And that's what today's video is about, because it is so exciting, because we are at the very early innings. I mean, we're not even at the early innings. It hasn't even really started yet. Really, the sport has been kind of progressing in terms of the equipment. I already did a video about the improvement that we're seeing in the athletes' involvement in bike development. Suspension technology has improved. I know this might be a surprise, but for many mountain bike fans, mountain bike suspension for decades was pretty bad. It lagged behind every other industry, and it's really only in the past 10 or 12 years that mountain biking has really caught up. And so tire technology improved. The bikes are really quite good. Electronic suspension is pretty much here. We're already seeing some of the top riders use it. I don't believe there is yet a production version available for a downhill suspension setup. So I do believe electronic suspension is going to play a role, but I believe it's going to play a much smaller role than the potential advantage that exists if a team and a rider and a company really invests and takes the aerodynamics and the potential there to, I would say, the next level. But it's not, I mean, it's literally a non-factor. And for anybody that road bikes or pays attention to road racing, they will know that pretty much front and center what everybody is talking about is aerodynamics. Anybody that has been riding the road bike into a 10-mile-an-hour headwind, or even just on a long flat section of road, try to generate speed. As soon as you hit whatever, 20 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour, you realize how much of your momentum is limited by drag. And in the world of downhill, we don't hit quite the speeds that the road bikers do, but drag plays a large role. Tracks like Fort William, tracks like I believe the Queenstown Crankworks that we just saw had a very long, pretty wide open straight section. If somebody had a aerodynamically optimized bike and outfit, helmet, etc., the potential time advantage would be not tenths of a second, but many seconds. I believe we're looking at probably 3 to 7 seconds of potential speed improvement relative to where we are now if a team really focused on refining it. So we're going to talk about, okay, where does the biggest sort of potential lie? What untapped area is currently sort of just ripe for a team like Specialized Factory Racing, Norco, to go, okay, we're going to spend some money and we are going to target this? The first part is the front of the bike. If you look at the downhill bikes today, and when I say the front of the bike, I mean the forks, the crown, the handlebars, the stem, the brakes, there is quite literally zero aerodynamic optimization. They don't pay attention to it. It's for a multitude of reasons. The sport is just not yet at a point where it has the resources and the funds to spend the thousands and tens of thousands of dollars, and even theoretically hundreds of thousands of dollars involved in optimizing everything from brakes, shifters, handlebars, fork. If you look at a Fox 40, you don't have to be an aerodynamic specialist to see that this fork is seriously pretty far from aerodynamically optimized. And again, I think if there was time spent and the budget existed on behalf of some of these bigger factory teams just the time that they could save on, for example, shaping the the magnesium lowers of a fork. Right now, they are obviously round, and they, again, have paid essentially zero interest into trying to improve the airflow. I think literally just, and I don't even mean some extreme, exaggerated, like long sweeping foil that we've seen on some of the high-speed record attempts where you see the guy's got like a full-on aero wing. I mean just subtle changes in, for example, the fork lowers, providing a little bit more of a angled silhouette to allow the forks to pierce the air a little bit better. In particular, the front end of the bike, the number plate for sailors out there, it's pretty much a windbreak, and you have seen riders start to intentionally manipulate it and fold it, trying to improve the slipperiness of their front end, and that would sort of lead into the handlebar, brakes, and shifter area. Literally, I mean, I find it interesting that just a simple, relatively primitive cover over the brakes, the shifters, the handlebar, the stem, and the front number plate, I'm pretty sure would shave about a second. Obviously, the front of the bike is going to play the largest role in aerodynamic drag. And if you look at downhill bikes currently and mountain bikes, there is absolutely no attention paid to it. Now, in sharp contrast to road cycling, pretty much every bike is aerodynamically optimized down to just the finest detail. And it would be so cool to see factory specialized or commensal take some time and go, what could we do to experiment with the front end of the bike? And also, from what I understand, the UCI doesn't have any rules stipulating sort of adjustments in this way. One of the cool things is the rules are pretty open and are pretty encouraging of experimentation. So I don't think there's anything in the rules that would inhibit them putting on some kind of covering over the handlebar, the brakes, the shifters, the fork crowns. I mean, where we're at now, which is pretty much zero priority on the aerodynamics, just slight changes and improvements like incorporating some kind of aerodynamic shaping and funneling on the front end of the bike can literally make you 1 or 2 seconds faster, and it really wouldn't take much. So that is just one of many areas that can potentially be improved. The other, perhaps most notable one, is the wheels. This is another interesting area where, again, there is pretty much zero exploration and there is a lot of potential on tap. Aerodynamic bladed spokes, I very rarely see them used. Wheel coverings, again, none of these, from what I understand, I haven't done a deep dive, but I don't believe there is any rules prohibiting the use of any aerodynamic equipment. Now, there is the skin suit rule that mandates it cannot be sort of spandex level tight, and it also, with your full face helmet, it has to have a visor. So those are 2 mandated rules. You can pretty much do whatever you want, which is why we see so many prototype one-off bikes. Another interesting area of experimentation is often with new prototype bikes, they will have a sort of neoprene cover over the front triangle and the rear triangle. And I can guarantee you, although neoprene isn't exactly, it's soft, so it's not going to be as advantageous as a harder material, but on a track like Fort William and many others, Mount St. Anne, a covering on the front triangle and the rear would be faster. And it would only require a little bit of tinkering to yield, in my opinion, in the world of World Cup, because we are talking about a race where a second is huge, I think the benefits could be really significant. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm telling you, if Specialized shows up, we already saw the disc brake rotor covers, and I know they were talking about that being a means of managing heat. I'm telling you, those disc brake covers are just a little taste of what's to come, because aerodynamics is the next big frontier. A full hard shell covering of the front frame and the rear triangle. Obviously, I haven't tested this myself, and this kind of gets into the challenges. It's kind of complicated. It's expensive, but one of the cool things is big companies like Trek, like Specialized, they already have built-in in-house wind tunnels. They have the aerodynamic experts. So this is already kind of second nature to them. So for the big companies, they got a big advantage. If you have a powerhouse road team like Specialized in Trek and Giant to a lesser degree, you got a big untapped sort of pool of expertise and engineers in doing this. So I already talked about the wheels, the wheel covering, or aggressively bladed spokes. Again, wheels play anybody that watches or is into road bikes. The kind of dirty air that gets created from a road bike is one of the reasons in time trials they use disc wheels, fully sort of covered disc wheels. Now, when you're jumping a mountain bike and on a windy track, it's not something you want to do, but perhaps aggressively bladed spokes, optimized rim profiles. I mean, the list goes on. And the reason it's so extensive is because we're working from essentially ground zero. No downhill mountain bike, to my knowledge, has been designed with any concern to aerodynamics. So that's what makes it so cool, is it's essentially like in the world of road biking before it was even like a vague concept. And that also gets into frame profiles. The new Scott downhill bike has its shock cradled within the frame. And I will tell you what, the first thing that I thought when I saw that is, I bet that is a pretty slippery bike when it comes to drag, removing the linkage, all that kind of chaotic and obtrusive metal from the frame, packing it neatly within the down tube. I can guarantee you that that is probably going to save. Watts is typically used in the context of road biking, but in the world of downhill, typically you're coasting. So I don't know what the terminology would be for, but I can guarantee you that bike would probably be what, half a second faster with that more slim aerodynamic bottom cradle. I don't think it's a coincidence that we're starting to see this. And I know Scott has other bikes that have that feature. That's kind of something they've leaned into, the cross country. But I'm telling you, the next 5 years, we are going to see more and more. And it's interesting because a lot of teams and riders are not going to want to be the first one to jump into it. So the first guy, no doubt about it, the first guy that shows up to a downhill with aerodynamic fairings on the front of his bike is going to get some backlash. It's going to happen. I would love it. I would find it so interesting as a bike nerd, as a fan of road bikes, XC bikes, downhill bikes, having Trek or Specialized or Giant or Commensal come out with these cool new components I just can't imagine, if you're a bike fan, how you would not be just so excited by that, because everything else on the current downhill bikes are pretty optimized. There's not some big significant advantage waiting. We're really at the level where we're shaving just tenths of a second off. The bikes are so good. The suspension's dialed. We are now kind of understanding chassis stiffness after years of just really not understanding the importance of it. So we're at a place where we're shaving just small amounts of time off, but the aerodynamics is not tenths of a second, it's seconds. I mean, 3, 4, 5 seconds. I know Cedric Rossi had talked about when he tried a full skin suit with I forget what the helmet he used. He said it was 5 seconds faster. That goes to show. Now, obviously, the human riding the bike is the biggest source of drag. And I know some people are not a fan of the skin suits. I say bring it on. And I know this is going to be controversial. I want to hear your take. I'm all about it. I enjoy downhill being the pinnacle. Allow them the freedom. So I do think we should keep visored full face helmets. Let's not do the squid lid look. The visor helmet looks cool, but I'm in favor of the skin suit. They're already flirting with it. I mean, it's funny because we see each season it gets closer. And I've seen pants and shirts on riders that it's pretty much Lycra tight. It might not be Lycra. It might be the traditional performance fabric, but they get it hemmed and custom fitted to them. For those of you watching that aren't aware, they do get it custom fitted, especially the top guys, to make it as tight as possible without, getting the UCI commissioners involved. But just let them. Why put this artificial restraint on aerodynamics? And for the people that say, well, it'd ruin the aesthetic of the sport, look at road cycling. much more popular than downhill. It's just undeniable. They wear aerodynamically optimized sort of clothing. And in the world of downhill, it's still going to look cool. It's likely going to be a full long sleeve sort of, skin suit. They're muscular, men and women. So visually, it would still look cool. And it would just open up this really interesting new area of, technological exploration, new fabrics, new looks. How cool would it be seeing Loic Bruni and Jackson Goldstone show up in a aerodynamically optimized skin suit? Like, I understand the argument for the people that are against it. Keep it simpler and more traditional. I am in favor of it. I love that stuff. I enjoy it. It would be cool. And it would be really cool because we're starting from zero. Literally, like, the sky's the limit. There's so much potential there. So this is just a few small details of what is potentially to come and will likely come, because when these big companies go, what is the best bang for the buck? Like what should we focus on for technology wise? And I'm telling you, there's going to be a lot of engineers that go aerodynamics. I mean, these bikes that we're riding are like the equivalent of a windbreak. They're just not designed with it being a priority whatsoever. So anyways, this was a long rant. I want to hear what you guys think. This is, I believe, going to be really the biggest focus over the next 5 years. And it's going to be so fascinating because just like when 29 was introduced, there is going to be controversy. You're ruining the aesthetic of the bike. And I'm not talking about, having some aggressive sort of really ugly fairings on the bike. I don't want it to go that far. But listen, have you guys seen the new aerodynamic road bikes? They're incredible looking. Like, aerodynamics often makes something look cooler. Like, it's not like it typically results in some ugly, goofy bike. If you look at the Canyon Air Road or the Trek Madon or the Specialized Tarmacs, these are incredible looking bikes. The new Colnago, actually that's a little controversial, but it's so wild. It would be cool. It would be awesome. It would be a total new era of experimentation, and I am for it. And I'm telling you, those disc brake covers, I know they were saying it's for heat in this. I think we're going to see just little bits and pieces. And I'm telling you, the big wigs or the engineering dudes at a lot of these companies, because they're going to be focused on what is the best ROI for tech sort of investment. It's aerodynamics. Let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with the skin suit? I'm in favor of it. Being kind of the tech nerd guy, I'm essentially always in favor of something that encourages tech innovation. But let me know what you guys think and hope you enjoy the video.